Greetings. This is Paul the Poke from PaulthePoke.com. This is a continuation of the conflict that is taking place between the Gaza Strip, the Palestinians, Hamas, and Israel. And this has dovetailed into Putin and Erdogan talk deterrent about Israel as Israeli-Palestinian conflict broadens. Here we are, May 12, 2021. Turkey's president, Recep Erdogan, and Russian President Vladimir Putin shared a little phone call today. And President Erdogan has recommended, and I quote, the international community to give Israel a strong and deterrent lesson. Erdogan also called on the United Nations Security Council to give Israel a determined and clear, or give Israel determined and clear messages, plural. He really wants to tell them, I'll tell you what. Erdogan also recommended an international force to be dispatched to protect the Palestinian people. And this is the part that gets me very interested in that you now have a leader of an Arab nation who is called in prophecy, Ezekiel 38:39, to join forces with Russia to come into the promised land from the north to attempt to invade Israel. And so you now have the two main figures. Now, I'm not saying Putin is Gog, and I'm not saying this is the time. However, it should be noted that these two folks together on the phone are talking about sending troops. One of them is suggesting that they send troops to protect the Palestinian people against Israel. So you can look at this from a couple of different perspectives. I give you an Arab perspective at AlJazeera.com. Israel must be taught a lesson, Erdogan tells Putin. And then also I have Israel Hayom, a Turkish leader, to Putin, Israel needs strong deterrent lesson. So you're getting two different perspectives. You're getting a Jewish perspective and you're getting an Arab perspective. But the bottom line is we now have a situation because of the events taking place in Israel from the Gaza Strip that you have world leaders who are prophesied from roughly, 25 to 2,700 years ago. They are getting together and discussing putting military hardware either in the Gaza Strip or very close for protection. The West Bank, who knows? I don't know if they can get it in the West Bank, but I think they could put some things in through the Med, go down through the Aegean Sea, get into the Mediterranean Sea, and bring some troops and military hardware via the Mediterranean to the Gaza Strip on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. So that is very plausible. And we do know, Ezekiel makes it very clear, Russia, that'd be Magog, Gog of Magog. Gog is the leader, Magog, Meshech, Tubal, Beth Dagarma. That's Turkey, modern day Turkey. They will join together along with Iran, Persia, Libya, and also probably Sudan or Ethiopia. And they're going to invade Israel at some point. Now, this has been picking up steam now for the better part of 6 years since Russia started bringing troops into the arena into northern Syria. I believe it was like December of 2015. So here we are 6 years later, and they continue to bring troops, military hardware, naval hardware, Air Force hardware, armaments, missiles, you name it. I mean, they are bringing this stuff in by the boatload, literally by the boatload. And we know that Russia's prophesied to attempt to invade Israel, and Bible says Russia and Turkey are going to join forces. And so we literally have these two talking about it. One of them is suggesting, hey, we need to do that. But for now, we're going to take a look at what's happened in Israel over the last 24 hours. And this is from Israel Defense Forces. Israel's major cities are under attack. And they ask the simple question, what would you do if this was your home. I'm going to click on this. I don't think we're going to get any sound with it. But just imagine if it was Washington, Paris, London. Would you put up with it? And so this is what's taken place in Israel. Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Ashkelon, Yehud, and some of the missiles are hitting stuff, and it's all over the country of Israel now. So, I mean, from the south, and they're even starting to expand things into the north. I want to say I heard a report as far north as Nazareth. Hamas has been firing missiles into Israel. So they're doing pretty much whatever they can. They're trying to reach all parts of Israel. In the last 3 days, Hamas has fired 1,500 plus rockets from Gaza all the way into Israel, terrorizing civilians as far as 90 miles away. And they remind the fine folks that Hamas expect a response. They're not going to take this lying down. President Joe Biden of the United States finally has a public appearance on the issue. It really wasn't a public appearance. It was a phone call. And his statement, Biden's statement, was issued by Twitter and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And you have to think about this and wonder about this. How does the world view President Biden? And are rogue states and terrorist organizations emboldened to act by perceived weakness? I mean, let's face it, President Biden does not project strength. And they have him on a tight leash. For obvious reasons. I mean, the guy struggles to complete sentences and paragraphs, and if he gets off the teleprompter, bad things tend to happen when he starts talking. And with this perception, will this allow Russia and its allies to coalesce and strengthen power against Israel? And, you know, I'm just wondering out loud, are we watching the beginning of this happen? And then secondly, let's say that does happen. Let's say Russia, Turkey, and Iran get together as prophesied by Ezekiel, and this is the time. I mean, it fits the profile. Do you think Biden in the United States are going to do anything or respond? I mean, has he shown any propensity to? I mean, he says he protects or he supports Israel and the right for it to defend itself, but would he respond? Would he do anything? I mean, it's a question that does need to be asked. We'll take a look at Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's tweet. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke by telephone with POTUS, Joe Biden, President of the United States. The Prime Minister thanked President Biden for the American backing of Israel's right to self-defense. Okay. Joe's not saying a whole lot about this. Now, Nancy Pelosi, she even came out on the floor of the House, and she was supportive of Israel and its right to defend itself against terrorism, which I found that kind of fascinating. Prime Minister Netanyahu said that Israel would continue to take action to strike at the military capabilities of Hamas and other terrorist organizations operating in the Gaza Strip. So the Hamas military wing, Al-Qassam Brigades, has launched 15 missiles at the Dimona nuclear facility in southern Israel. Now, the facility was not hit, and I haven't talked with anybody, but this will not be received well with Israeli leadership. The only group, I saw some stuff on social media and Twitter where, you know, different factions were reporting that Al-Qassam Brigades had launched 15 missiles. RT Times or RT.com, that's Russian Times out of Russia, they posted an article, Hamas rockets Israel, Dimona, nuclear. And they confirmed it. So, you know, you're firing rockets at a nuclear facility, and that's a clear act of hostilities. I mean, clearly they're already being hostile with each other. Don't kid yourself. But, and there was an incident, oh gosh, a week or two ago where some missile came out of, I believe it was Syria, north of the Golan Heights, and managed to find its way down there close to Dimona. And Israel said, oh, that was just a mistake. Well, they're being quiet on this one. There is no comment. And typically when when they're quiet, there's going to be a response, and they're just not going to tell anybody, and they're going to do something about it. So, I suspect there will be lots of rubble in the Gaza Strip over the next few days. None of these are confirmed. However, I will indicate I'm seeing rumblings on social media, Twitter, liveviewmap.com, some other outlets. There are rumblings of an Israeli ground invasion of the Gaza Strip, rumblings of troops being called up, and in preparation for a ground invasion of the Gaza Strip. The UN's worried about a quote full-scale war, and they've claimed it Armageddon, and it's like, come on. I mean, this is not good. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to minimize the situation. Lives are being lost. I want to say 50 or 60 plus people have died. 300 to 400 plus people have been injured. I mean, it's nothing to demean or make light of the situation. But this is child's play to what's coming. I mean, and this is right now relatively limited to an area of space about the size of New Jersey, or half of that at this time. And when it hits the fan, you're not going to need to ask the question, are we there yet? You'll know, and you'll wish it hadn't started. So, I guess the point of it is, Jesus said this time would come, and you can meet Jesus on his terms now as the Prince of Peace, as the Lamb, as the sacrificial Lamb, and accept his payment for sin. We all sin. All of us do, self included here. I'm a train wreck. I'm a mess. I'm a sinner. But I'm covered by Jesus. Or you can hold out and think you can go it alone, or not believe it, or whatever your ism is. And you can deal with the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And that guy ain't going to play. So, something to think about. We'll be watching these things. I know this is 3 straight nights of reports. It's been kind of interesting to see all this unfold. Also, keep in mind, we do have the Feast of Weeks coming up this weekend. Tonight is Wednesday, May 12th. Ramadan ended, so the Muslims should be leaving Jerusalem, or leaving the Temple Mount and the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Golden Dome. And as they're going out of town, we've got Jewish men coming into town for the Feast of Weeks, Shavuot, or Pentecost, as we refer to that over here in the West. So, interesting times. Volatility of the situation does not seem to be decreasing. If anything, it's increasing with some of the actions of both sides. And we're going to keep an eye on it and keep everybody posted. So, if you find the content valuable, please feel free to share with others at PaulthePoke.com. Also, if you want to become a subscriber to the blog, type your email address here in the gray box, hit subscribe, and sends you a notification every time something is published. And this will be categorized under Gaza Strip, Philistia Prophecy Trend Update, and that's over here in the far right column. Click on Gaza Strip, for example. Got articles going several years back. And again, is this the time where that place gets turned into pretty much a little grassland for animals to graze and sheep to graze? I don't know. We know that's where it's headed. We know they get it handed to them. And we know what the future holds. So, appreciate you guys following along. Please feel free to share with others. Thanks a lot. Bye.